Hi everyone, good evening. Thank you for joining October's TechStylers meetup. Right, we usually have our big meetup events every last Saturday of the month, and today's session is a very special one because we have a very special guest with us today. And I'm happy that we've all taken our time to join. I'm sure we're going to have a great time with Charles. I sent out a form earlier for us to drop our questions. So we'll go through the questions with Charles later on today. And if you by any chance have a question that just popped up in your mind, you can just raise your hand and we can also take that as additional questions for Charles. Now, who is Charles? I'm sure if you are in the Power Platform community, you certainly know who Charles is. Personally, I know Charles. And I was very excited when Laura um, assisted to get this time slot in Charles' very busy diary, right? Laura is, thank you so much for helping to put this together for the ladies. Charles is the corporate vice president of the low code applications in Microsoft. So when you're thinking of CVS, when you're thinking of Dynamics 365, when you're thinking of the Power Platform, right? He's the person and the mind behind it. So when he became the corporate vice president, Microsoft was able to transition Dynamics 365 to Azure, right? So most of us that use Dynamics, there was this message that kept coming up, oh, a new interface is coming, a new interface is coming, get ready. Yes, Charles and it was under his leadership that the transition was done. Mixed reality, artificial intelligence. So I'm really thrilled and absolutely honored and grateful to have him on the session today. So thank you so much, Charles, for joining us today. And I would like to start off the session with Charles talking about himself. As we can all see, Charles is really young. And I was just before we started, I was telling him, Charles, I really want to hear your story. Like, how did you become a corporate vice president in Microsoft at such a young age, right? What was your career like? How did you start? And then how did you basically move from one level to another? And then boom, you're here. Wow. I personally want some secret tips from Charles today. So Charles, over to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me here today, Foyan. Thank you for inviting me to the TechStylers group. I've actually been following what y'all have been up to based on a video Foyan has shared with us. I use it whenever I talk about some of the coolest programs around the globe for Power Platform. So just really excited to be here and kind of talk about myself and answer whatever questions I can. So for me, for kind of my career journey, I'll start kind of back when I was in university and school, because I think it's kind of an interesting perspective about how I ended up in software. When I went to college, I had no idea what I wanted to do, like I think many people, right? And when I was first in college, I knew I wanted to do something in science and math and engineering, but I didn't know what field. And I started as an aerospace engineer, so like airplanes, spacecraft, that type of thing. And I remember I had an internship after my second year in school, where I got to work at Lockheed Martin, one of the large aerospace companies. And the person that sat next to me, his entire career had been spent calculating the weight of paint on a plane. And that's just all he had done for the same airplane for 30 years. And I knew aerospace didn't move at the speed that I would like, that would keep me excited and passionate. So I changed from aerospace, I tried chemical engineering, I tried pre-med, before ultimately ended up in software and computer science at the very end of my 4-year degree. And I like to talk about that because a lot of people you'll talk to say, oh, I knew at 5 years old I wanted to go into software. I wrote code since I was 8 years old. That definitely wasn't me. I didn't have a computer until I was like 14 years old. Which is weird too when I grew up. But eventually found my way to computer science. And I was super fortunate after graduation from University of Notre Dame in the US to get an internship and then a full-time offer at Microsoft. And when I came to Microsoft, it was in 2009, which is a scary time in the world. It was during the Great Recession, pretty economically scary time. Like a lot of my friends lost their jobs, or companies they worked for went bankrupt and stuff like that. But I was able to go work at Microsoft for about 3 years right after I graduated. I learned a ton. I got to work in Office 365, and I learned what it meant to build a cloud service, what it meant to care about customers. things like that. But after 3 years, kind of for various reasons, it didn't really match what I wanted to do from a career perspective. I didn't see how I could go really create a new product or really drive a bunch of change for a lot of people. So I left Microsoft, and that was probably the hardest decision of my life in 2012, and did a startup company called Metrics Hub, which did public cloud cost management and health monitoring. And it was really the perfect time for that type of company. And we were super customer obsessed and got a lot of traction really quickly, and actually got acquired by Microsoft in 2013. So in less than a year. And kind of since then, I worked in Azure for 4 years. And then about 3 years ago, I took my current role about Power Platform and Dynamics. And I kind of went up from VMs to PaaS to SaaS and now to low code. And it's kind of the perfect background, really, to kind of go feed in and provide the right experience and the right knowledge to go be successful with Power Platform. So that's kind of been my journey along the way. And I'd say the most important thing for me personally has really been two things from a career perspective. The first is you gotta believe in yourself. And this sounds so cliche and corny to say, but if you don't believe in yourself, nobody else is going to believe and take a bet on you. And that is something that has to permeate what you do all the time. And if you're on this call now, or you're listening to this call now, or you're playing Power Platform, you definitely are worth believing in yourself. So I'd say definitely just got to believe that you'll be able to achieve what you want. And the second thing is make the hard decisions to go chase where your passions and dreams are, even if they're going to hurt in the short term. Like when I left Microsoft, that was scary, right? Giving up a salary and going to taking no salary on my own company, right? When I switched from Azure to Power Platform Dynamics, that was scary. Azure was the big, super exciting area to then go to this new thing that's unproven, that we don't even know if it can be successful, this idea of low code. Or changing my degree with only 3 or 4 semesters left in college, completely changing my degree. That was scary, but it's all about chasing kind of what gets you excited, what gets you passionate, and what matches your long-term goals. So I'd say those are the two big things really kind of going throughout that journey. And that's my little story. Hopefully that was the right level of detail, Boyan. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you so much. I mean, I can see the comments coming, and it's basically reflecting what I have in my mind. Like, absolutely impressive. So it's like it just kind of grew, like from stage to stage, touching on each technology as you moved along, which for me, and also saying that you were in college and you didn't really know what you wanted to do, right? For me, this is kind of very encouraging, because most of us feel that anyone who gets it right and gets to, this kind of level, leading an engineering team, probably knew at age 5 that, oh, this is what I wanted to do, and then was all focused, and from get-go, from age 5, was writing codes at age 10. But knowing that you actually just kind of figured it out as you went along encourages me, and I'm sure encourages a lot of people listening to you right now. Because most of us get to a point, for me, say, about 18 months ago, I actually was wondering if I was doing the right thing. Because coming from a SharePoint background, I was kind of stuck just doing the same things, or creating portals and lists and all that. And I was getting very bored with it and wondering, okay, what's next? Where is the growth path for me? And then I stumbled on Power Apps. And now I have a whole new world. So much to learn, so much to know, so many possibilities. So yes, thank you for sharing your story with us. I'm totally impressed. It also shows that you're a genius, because switching Azure, local Dynamics, and getting a hang of it all means a lot. But yes, I think believing in yourself, like you said, it's really, you're your own cheerleader, right? You have to sing praises continuously to yourself. I can do this, and then we find out like, oh, I'm actually doing this. Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much. And all the comments are coming in. Okay, so I'd like you to tell us a bit about your personal, something a bit personal about you, before we go into the questions. Like, what do you do for fun? Like, besides trying to figure out the next thing for Power Platform.
Yeah, for me, I have 4 dogs actually. So that's like a little bit, not a full-time job, but that does keep me busy. And like one of the things that I'm really passionate about is like animal welfare and taking care of animals. So I do a bunch of volunteering, donation, and animal fostering, like dog fostering in the U.S., particularly around like getting dogs out of kill shelters. So that's still maybe a little bit work-like, but that is really fulfilling for me personally, and I like to spend my time doing that. I'm also a big American football fan, so like I was just joking before we started that we finished just in time because my team plays right after this, so I'll be able to go right and watch that. So those are kind of like two things I'm really passionate about, and of course, I mean, I really get excited about technology. I mean, I'm sure like if it's a Saturday, folks are listening to this, you're probably the same way, right? Like I like reading, I read books, I read blogs, I read about technology that I'll never use, but it's just great to go learn and always feel curious. And that's something that, as I'd say, kept me up to date about the industry, and also is just what I enjoy doing for fun. So I don't know, those are probably the 3 interesting little personal bits about what I do for time.
Nice. I mean, that's really nice. Great to know. Thank you for sharing with us. Okay, so let's start with the questions. So I'm starting off with this question. I'm stuck between continuing in my HR career because I've amassed 5 years, in trying to develop myself in the HR path. So that's one decision, and fully dedicating myself to the Power Platform. I'm not sure I can build a career where both fields converge. What do you advise, right? So this is someone that is starting out with Power Platform. She says she's a newbie. She's excited about all of the Power Platform tools, but she's trying to decide, right? She's an HR expert, 5 years. She's doing very well. However, she's extremely excited about the Power Platform, and she needs to know, okay, what should I do? Should I switch completely to the Power Platform, or is there room for me to actually do both, right? Is there a point of convergence where I can continue doing my HR thing and still do all the stuff I love to do in Power Platform?
Yeah. So I'd say for Power Platform, one of the most interesting aspects is that it's possible to mix your business or discipline specific knowledge, like about HR, together with technology knowledge and development capabilities with the Power Platform. And that's why the Power Platform has actually been so impactful for so many people out there, is because it's not about people who only know how to write code trying to solve HR problems. As an example, it can be people who know HR learning how to develop with Power Platform and solving HR problems. So if I were to kind of in a roundabout way answer the question, it would be, I think there's real opportunity to take your HR knowledge as an asset together with Power Platform knowledge to go help and become a maker in the HR space, to go make HR processes more productive and more efficient. And whether that's where you currently work, by helping the HR departments be effective, or ultimately finding other opportunities, whether it's a partner or a software vendor or something that helps create solutions for HR departments with the Power Platform, either could be a great opportunity. And kind of the story I was talking about the other day is my youngest brother actually has an HR background. And right now he's going through the process of learning Power Platform as part of a kind of a career change, career exploration thing, just because he was impacted by layoffs and stuff like that related to COVID. So it's really kind of interesting to see the mixing and the blending of IT and all of these unique, I say, business specific knowledge, whether it's HR, finance, or marketing, into a single person, a single discipline. So I guess I would say you don't have to necessarily choose. You can actually learn Power Platform and still go drive change and improvements for HR processes.
Thank you so much. I'll say that's 100% spot on, because with the Citizen Developer Academy that we run at Sterling, we have a number of HR folks attend the academy. And what happens is they go back and start to solve problems within their space. So before then, they would have come to me to say, oh, Foyi, I have this problem. I would like you to solve for me. But now you have the skill, so you can actually solve the problems yourself. So yes, I completely agree with that. All right. So we'd like to know is it possible to make Power Apps licensing cheaper to afford? Like when you start at the beginning, especially if you're coming from SharePoint list, right? Oh, it's all easy and exciting, and then you discover you have a very complex database that SharePoint cannot support, right? You need to go into CDS to do this, and then you need a license for that, and then the finance team starts to Microsoft, and then you're converting naira to dollar, and wow, it's becoming a lot of money. So I don't know if you have any plans around maybe having some kind of different licensing structure for Africa, or maybe I should say for Nigeria. Let me be a bit selfish. Yes, because our currency right now is not really very good compared to dollar, and it makes the license appear expensive, but it's really not expensive compared to the value we're getting from it. But when we convert the dollar to naira, wow, it's a ton. So I don't know if you have.
Yep. Yes. So I can talk about one thing we're doing and two things we're exploring, which aren't, of course, locked right now. And those are just things we're exploring. But the more feedback we hear, the better. The thing that we are doing right now is we are bringing. We internally call it CDS Lite, which is Project Oakdale. We are bringing more of those capabilities into the Office license. So if you already have Office like E3, you don't have to go purchase anything else, and you get some of those great relational database, data platform capabilities that you know from CDS inside of that license. And in particular, that applies to applications inside of Teams. And we've already seen a ton of customers take advantage of that. And that's going to reach general availability in the next month or so. So that's kind of number one, is we're trying to put more in Office. And that's kind of like incrementally free. The second is we are looking at how can we go find ways to make Power Platform more affordable. And there are a lot of different things that we're exploring, particularly when the number of users is large, because I think there's some economies of scale that we get on the Microsoft side. So we are also going and looking at options around that right now, which are actively being investigated, and we're looking to potentially experiment with in the next 3 months or so. And then there's a third aspect, which is how do we go and figure out basically better support different markets where there is currency pressure or the price translated ends up very expensive. And so that's actually something we're exploring as well. I think we don't have as much clarity towards that third one as the other two, but I have seen emails come across my desk that we are working on this, and we do have support to go find ways to potentially create more opportunity, because that's the whole idea, right? Is we want to empower everybody in the world to become a developer with Power Platform. And licensing and the cost of that is a big part of making that be true. So we're definitely super committed. And so I think those are the three things that are in flight right now that will hopefully help. And I would say anytime anyone has feedback about this, please do share with Microsoft. We obsessively listen for these types of things. We take this feedback very seriously, and we change our plans all the time. Just to kind of, then hopefully I say we change it in a good way to go get to the point where we actually can empower more people to adopt the Power Platform and adopt the whole platform, inclusive of CDS, inclusive of the premium connectors. So.
Wow, thank you so much. I mean, this is really encouraging, and we look forward to the rollouts and everything that you're going to come up with. Yes, thank you. Okay, is it possible? So someone wants to know, right? I build an app for my customer, a client, and I want to deploy in the client's environment. So the client has like first-hand experience of this application. Is it possible in Power Apps to tie a 30 days trial around that application? So when you install, you're sure that, okay, within 30 days, this app is going to stop working. Is or something that's somewhere in the pipeline?
Yeah, so like, because we have the trial today. I got it. So I think the question is probably like, if you're a partner and say you build an app that you're letting a customer try, you want them to only be able to try it for 30 days, as opposed to today where they can kind of keep extending it and just like use it infinitely. Is that right?
That's correct.
Yeah, so we are working on this because basically what we want to get to is, and it will be enabled through AppSource, but we're working towards making it so that AppSource has all the stuff you probably know from like the Google Play Store or the iOS App Store, where there's like in-app purchase, trial, like, free to play, subscription, license enforcement. So we are doing work to make it so you can actually manage the life cycle of your application or your solution as deployed through AppSource. So I'd say yes, we actually have some stuff that's going to roll out over the next 6 months around license enforcement for third-party apps, but it would be through AppSource. So basically, I would say is if you want to get started on this and give it a try and set yourself up for success over the next 12 months, it would be go through the AppSource registration process, and that's where we'll make sure we have trials, license enforcement, as well as marketing efforts to go drive awareness of the solution. So that's kind of how we're going to do it. And we probably won't be able to enable it any other way, unfortunately, except through the AppSource.
All right. Okay. Fantastic. I'm sure that will suffice. Thank you so much. Okay, moving on to a more feminine conversation. So we'd like to know, right? One of our TechStylers would like to know which women have influenced you the most during your career and how.
Yeah, so I think when I first joined Microsoft out of college, which was great. I was in a team where the group engineering manager was someone, Erica Lan. She works at Microsoft now as well, and it was great because I think she's really impressive, kind of for two main reasons. Obviously, she was a great engineering leader and still is a great engineering leader in Azure now, leading a bunch of the networking stuff. But basically, she was one of the few very senior women engineering leaders at the company. And she was able to kind of get there with such great technical knowledge, such great humility, such a great listener, and navigate a very, I'd say, challenging, unique situation to have such great career success. And she would spend the time to mentor and coach me, even though I was just a fresh out of college person. So she really helped me get excited and learn what it meant to go build a great team where people are collaborative, work well together and help each other, but also the technical chops and the technical depth you need to really build a great service at the scale that Microsoft does. So those first 3 years that I had out of college, where I learned so much, were in large part to the organization and the team that she had successfully cultivated. And I still stay in touch with her, as well as other people that I worked on that team 10 years later, because it was such a great group working well together. So I think hopefully she's not a little weirded out by me mentioning her by name, but kind of that was a really great experience I had in my career very early on at Microsoft.
Sounds great, and I think this is also a key point for we women, especially as we start to rise. That we can actually play a very key role in someone's life and make that great impact that will help that person progress. I'm sure at that time she didn't imagine that you would actually become a corporate vice president at Microsoft.
Yep.
So yeah, okay, that's
yeah.
great.
And I just say, like, that's how like careers work, is because I mean, for folks that I talk frequently to people that are early in career, I say the number one advice I give is always help other people. That's the most, whenever, like, if you're busy, if you're stressed, still help other people however you can, because the world is so small and you'd be surprised the difference it makes. And just for me personally, like, I've been super fortunate with people like Erica, with other people in my career that have helped me learn and grow over time. Sorry to kind of hijack it for a second, but I just thought this was a really good example of that.
Thank you for sharing. All right, so what are your thoughts around the pay gap, the pay gap across genders? What steps do you think can be taken to address it?
Yeah. So I think the pay gap across any groups is just abhorrent. It's a terrible thing that exists and very much is very real in the world, unfortunately. And there's a few things that I think we should do, and this is like Charles thinking we should go do it. The first is, I mean, greater transparency and greater protection to create transparency around wages. If it were up to me, I would say everybody should have their wage published, because you quickly could identify, I'd say, discrepancies that exist based on particular groups, like men versus women, or based on race, or any other number of things. The second is tighter regulation and tighter legislation around equal pay. Or basically, it should be a law level thing that protects it. And the third thing, which is something that is a little, I'd say, is much more fast compared to, say, potentially passing a law or anything like that, is just also making sure we have equal representation of women and other minorities in leadership roles at a senior level, on boards, at the CEO level. That's the only way you can actually start to drive this idea that there's equal roles and ultimately equal pay. So I think greater diversity in leadership positions will ultimately help yield more equal pay. So kind of those are three things that come to mind right away. And some move slower than others. Like, unfortunately, governments tend to move pretty slow on these things. But I think at Microsoft, and me personally, we can really be better allies to go do some of these programs that we have control over, around better transparency, around more clarity about how pay is determined, as well as making sure that we go drive greater diversity in more senior positions. And those are kind of the best three things that come to mind for me. And I think, of course, we're always learning and always improving, but this is something that we got to get right. Because I think, again, like I feel like I'm being a little cheesy today, but like Microsoft talks about empowering every organization, everyone around the world to do more. Like, you can't do that if you don't make it so everybody is getting equitable and equal treatment. So anyway, so I think that's something that we should really could push on, those three items.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I think I should actually mention this. I was opportune to join one of Charles' internal meetings, and I was really excited because I saw a number of women leading his engineering team, like Power Automate and a lot of other teams were being led by women. So, and I'm just saying this, that is something that Charles is very passionate about, and he's also taking lead on this, even within the team that he leads, right? So yes, thank you for that. All right. How can we encourage a wider cognitive diversity in tech?
Yeah, I think for one of the biggest things that we focus on at Microsoft is to go find programs that to help folks from different backgrounds or different neural development characteristics, to make sure that they can really get, again, equitable opportunity to go explore careers at a company like Microsoft. So we actually have programs where people can be apprentices or do a 12-week training, basically inside of Microsoft, and almost an intern at Microsoft, to go make sure we can really get everybody an equal and fair shake at getting a role as a developer or a product manager or a site reliability engineer or designer at a company like Microsoft. So that's kind of one piece of it. The second is actually fostering a culture of inclusion and transparency where people can really be their authentic self at work, because that has the benefit of people being able to go basically, they don't have to go cover who they are or try to change their behavior, which is a whole bunch of wasted energy as opposed to being spent on building a great product. And it's not something that happens by accident. It takes consistent commitment from the team, from the leadership, to create an environment like that. So I think those are the two big aspects, making sure you have the right programs to get people access to the jobs and actually place them within the company. And the second, to make sure you have a culture of inclusion where they can actually thrive and excel in that environment while being themselves. And that kind of goes across any number of dimensions. So, and those are two things that we're really committed to at Microsoft, and I'd hope to see at more technology companies and more companies around the globe, really.
All right. Okay. Fantastic. So your answer kind of leads me to the next question. So Microsoft's doing all of this internally, which is really great. What do you think that Microsoft can also do to start to spread these intentions, especially to their partner organizations? What are the kind of things that Microsoft can do to ensure that beyond Microsoft itself, even their partners are also driving diversity and inclusion?
Yep. Yeah, I think there's a few like tiers to it. I mean, the first is, I mean, Microsoft is very fortunate. It's a very large, very successful multinational company. It's our responsibility to speak up about what we think is right behavior when it comes to things like diversity and inclusion, and to have a voice and set leadership for the industry of tech as well as more broadly. So I think number one is like we have to go lead by example and have a voice on these issues and these topics. The second aspect is we actually have a lot of great programs that we've created which have dedicated funding as well as sourcing for, say, minority-owned businesses or women-led businesses and things like that. And what's great, and this is for partners as well as suppliers to Microsoft. And what's great about this is it's able to really go deploy Microsoft's capital and strong economic position in a way to go create economic opportunity in groups, in communities, and folks that maybe in the past wouldn't have gotten that shot with a company like Microsoft. And I think this really can start to drive lasting change. So that's kind of the first two pieces. The third one, I would say, is really going and finding ways to hold our partners and people we do business with to our same standard. And we do this increasingly around various things. Like you can't do business with us if you don't meet a certain min bar of today it's largely around corruption and compliance and business conduct, but increasingly business conduct will include how you treat your employees and how diverse and inclusive you are with your employees. So kind of those are like the three things that really come to mind. And again, it all starts from the position that Microsoft is this large company with real potential to change the world, the way the world operates. We need to go use that to go drive for good, to go drive to change that we want to actually exist. And this is a really important topic for it.
I mean, thank you so much. This is really exciting because I'm just imagining when Microsoft starts to say, oh, you have to treat your staff well to become our partner. I just can't imagine the kind of effects that's going to have across the world, because Microsoft has tons of partners, millions of partners, and we all want to work with Microsoft. So when Microsoft comes up with that type of policy saying, oh, you have to have equal number of women and men in your leadership teams if you want to be our partner, and things start to go down into diversity and inclusion, I think it's going to make a great impact. So we look forward to that. Thank you so much. Okay, let's see. Let me see. Let's talk a bit about our space. So we have a question here from someone who has started to learn how to solve problems with the Power Platform. But this person is worried, right? I'm spending so much time learning how to create apps and automating processes and building dashboards using all of these tools. What's the assurance that she's going to get a job, especially where she's in a location like Nigeria, where the Power Apps Maker opportunities are on the low side?
Yeah. So I think there's a few aspects to it. The first is there's a great LinkedIn board we have, which we can share with the group, where basically companies are able to go listings and job postings, which we hope to go match and pair with Power Platform experts. Because what we've seen is we go talk to a lot of the partner organizations around the globe, and they can't find Power Platform experts fast enough. Like I was on a call yesterday with a partner, and they said they're going to grow their Power Platform team 7x over the next year. And we have, I think we have some report where there are 8,000 unfilled job postings or something for Power Apps right now in the United States, which I know doesn't help for the Nigeria aspect, but just there's a growing job demand, and we're really committed at Microsoft to go help pair people looking for Power Platform experts with the Power Platform experts. So I'd say check out that LinkedIn group and check out some of the postings that like Donna Sarkar and other leaders are doing. It's kind of one piece. The second piece I would say is we're still in the early days of Power Platform. We imagine the demand and the growth is at least 10, if not 30, 40, 50 times bigger than it is today when we get to the full scale 5 years from now. So I'd say I would expect a lot more jobs and postings to open up. And just as prevalent as something like an Exchange admin or a SharePoint admin is, we imagine Power Platform admin or Power Platform maker will be just as prevalent over the next few years. Additionally, the last thing I would say is I'm very hopeful about this and what it means just in general. But with so many companies moving to be virtual and work from home, we've seen a lot of partners be willing to hire people which aren't co-located with the customers they serve. And I think that there's going to be a real opportunity, say in Nigeria, to go get positions where you're working remote for a country maybe based out of or a company based out of the UK or Germany or France or the US. And I think that that's going to be a really transformative element that comes out of the COVID crisis, is going to be much more remote first or remote only partner organizations. And I think that will be a great opportunity. So I'd say be on the lookout for those. We're already starting to see them. Even Microsoft has changed our position on remote work and virtual work. So there's real opportunity at a global level and a global scale. So I think those are kind of a few different paths which hopefully will help. And if all else fails, I'd say definitely reach out to Foyan, reach out to Donna, @mention me on Twitter, and we're happy to go amplify as well. If you got the skills, I'm very confident that there are a lot of people looking for power platform makers, power apps makers out there right now. So, yeah.
Thank you so much for the comforting answer, Charles. I think that this question reflects the mind of a lot of young people who are starting off in the power platform, right? So they are fresh out of school, they currently are unemployed, and they're like, okay, let me learn this tool. But they are hoping that, when I invest all of my time into learning this, is there going to be something for me? Will I be able to get a job and actually, earn from it? So thank you for the comforting answers. And I think in addition to what Charles has said, bringing it home to Nigeria, I think what is important is also to be active in the community, right? Because if you're in your little space, nobody actually knows what you know. Nobody knows you, right? But when there is a need, if you're active in the community, you're there. When we do the call for speakers, you are there to show a demo, the show and tell, show what you've done, the problems you're solving in the Power Platform. Whenever there is a need, you come to mind. Oh, yes, this lady did a demo and it was very good. I'm sure she can handle this. So that's one of the important things about being active in the community. And the truth is, here in Nigeria, the need keeps increasing every day, right? I can't count how many opportunities has come up, like to my decks in the past 6 to 8 to 12 months. Different customers, friends from the community saying, oh, Foyin, I need someone that can do this for me. I need someone on this Power Apps project. I want to solve this problem. And of course, I can't do it. I'm on a full-time job. So I reach out to someone in the community. Oh, are you free? Are you available to solve this? Okay, get connected to this person. And they get paid for that. So I think in addition to that, get involved in the community and you would see the opportunities coming up right at your decks.
Yep, that's a great point. +1 to that for sure.
All right, Charles, do you have any plans to start a dev hub, for low-code apps in Africa? So we know most of your engineering team probably sits in the US, but we also have a lot of people here in Nigeria, in Africa, who are very passionate, not just about being makers and developers, but they want to be part of this great work, like sit in your engineering team and think through all of these new feature requests and how to get them on board. Do you have any plans of doing that? This question.
Yeah, I think there's probably two pieces to it. There's like the broader Microsoft, and like Microsoft absolutely is growing our presence in Africa. So we have I think about 100, or with a plan to go to about 500 developers between Nigeria and Kenya for African Development Center for Microsoft, and working on some of the most cutting edge parts of the Microsoft tech stack, things like AI and mixed reality. So that's definitely a goal for the company in general. And in part, it's because of a broader strategy to be much more global. I think over time, Microsoft is increasingly basically growing the number of development centers and the percentage of developers that are based outside of the US, because that's a really key aspect to actually be I'd say, a member of the global community and to really understand all the unique aspects of different markets out there. For me personally, my team has grown. It used to be almost exclusively inside of Redmond, in Seattle or outside Seattle, Washington, in the U.S. We now have a development center in Athens, a development center in Paris, a development center in Bangalore, a development center in Hyderabad. I mean, the broader Microsoft development centers. I'd say I don't know right now what our personal future is, but I know in Microsoft in general, absolutely, you want to keep growing on the African continent. We think there's a lot of great opportunity. There's a lot of excitement. I mean, the stories that I've seen come out of Lagos in particular is just unbelievable. And Donna, who does the evangelism for Power Platform, it's one of her favorite places in the world in terms of just the energy and the excitement. So I think that's definitely how it would evolve and grow over time. And I'd say, yeah, who knows? Who knows what will happen in 2021, right? But
all right, thank you so much, Charles. I think with this level of growth, we're sure to have something coming up in this region very soon. All right, so now let's speak a bit about certifications. Right, someone wants to know if it's possible to streamline the Power Platform certifications. So currently, if you want to end the entire, if you want to go through the entire roadmap, you have to write like a PL 400, which is a core developer exam. This person wants to know, is it possible to maybe make that an optional exam to write, or have a completely different track? So if you're a seasoned developer, this is your track. If you're a functional consultant, this is your track. And if you're a core dev, a pro dev, these are the exams you need to write. So yes, that's what we'd like to know.
Yeah. I'd say we should. I think that's a great, because I would say today Power Platform is really focused on three types of makers or developers. The first type is the business user, the citizen developer, people that don't have, say, an IT or technology background. The second is the IT admin, the IT professional, folks or consultant. And the third is a pro developer or the coder. And I think today it's a great question because it's exactly right. Having a single track that culminates with a pro dev only exam, that's not really living up to this idea of supporting three different personas. So I mean, I think it makes perfect sense, and it's something we should do and we will do. And just as part of, I'd say, some growing pains maybe right now. But I really think there should be a Power Apps maker, a Power Apps admin, a Power Apps developer. Like, there should be different types of tracks and different courses for all three of those. And we'll get there because skilling and training and exams is one of the biggest areas of focus for us right now. Because there's just so much need to skill and teach folks about the Power Platform to really go satisfy the demand from all the partners and consultancies and our customers out there right now. So I think it makes perfect sense. And that's an action I'm going to go send an email on probably 15 minutes after this call, just to go ask the team how we can go divide that up where it makes sense. So.
Great. Thank you so much. And we have a comment from Shirley saying that the Learn material is really good. And I think myself, maybe Jumoke, and a couple of other people, we've just read the Learn material and were able to pass the exams. So we'd like to also send credits to the team behind the Microsoft Learn.
Awesome. Yeah, I'd say I love, Learn is one of the coolest things that we've done at Microsoft, honestly. Yeah, but that's awesome to hear. Thank you.
All right. Yeah, so next question. The default database storage size for CDS is just 1 gig. That's for the developer subscription, right? And this is, really low, as it has a lot of limitations. And also considering the fact that Microsoft gives every user 1 terabyte for OneDrive storage. As storage is becoming cheaper year on year, is it possible for Microsoft to consider increasing this database storage for developers?
Yeah, we should. So I think I'll take a look at that, because basically because there is a slight difference between OneDrive and CDS, because OneDrive is just like flat file storage, which is very, very cheap. And that I agree with. That we should give a ton away. In the case of CDS, it's not just the disk storage. We also are giving like SQL behind the scenes. We're giving database level compute with indexes, querying, advanced middle tier. So there's a lot more than just flat storage for CDS, but 1 gig is definitely too small. I know there's a few other initiatives that we're working towards where we'll guarantee at least 10 gigs by default, just by getting started. And I think, I'm not sure if developers on the list. I know like the per app plan is on that list and stuff. So I'll go follow up to see what our plan is there. But the idea is like you should be able to get 10 gigs right away, because 10 gigs is a lot of rows. It's tens of millions of rows inside of CDS, as well as a bunch of files. So it can do some pretty interesting and compelling use cases. So I'll go make sure that we have that plan for our developer SKU. And I'm actually taking a note right now to make sure I do that. Developer SKU, and I'll also check for our trials to make sure if it's also going to get 10 GB to start. But, yeah.
Okay, thank you so much for that. So still talking about the developer subscription, we understand that there are some formulas that do not work in the developer environment, and then the same expressions work when you move to a trial environment. So is there, like, there's some gap there? So we'd like the team to take a look at it.
Got it. And just to make sure, so to make that, if I were to maybe rephrase it and say the developer environment should have full parity and the full set of capabilities you'd have in a normal full environment. Is that okay? I'll tell you, it should, but I know that there are some seams with the developer SKU today, but I'd say it definitely should, and that's a great call out.
Okay, great, thank you. Talking about storage, the storage size also for Microsoft 365 customers is 10 gig per tenant, and then an extra 250 MB per user if the customer has a Dynamics 365 license. So the person is just asking the same question, if it's possible to give a default that is a bit higher than 10 gig per tenant, because a lot of customers get stuck. 10 gig.
Got it. I'll take a look, because I know a lot of people hit that for like the default environment. So one of the things I would hope is, with what's interesting is for the Oakdale announcements, we are allowing up to 500 Oakdale or CDS Lite environments included with your Office license, and those 500 environments each come with 2 gigs. So that really is a terabyte in those 500 2 gigs ones that you can actually go use. So I think we're trying to get people to use that, because it's easier for us to have lots of little databases, which usually works pretty well, as opposed to one really big one. So I'd say definitely check out what Oakdale gives in terms of storage, but all the same, I'll go push and see what we can do to be more generous. Going back to kind of a few questions ago of how do we go empower more people by putting more inside of Office, I'll take that as an action and go see what we can do. Yeah.
All right, thank you so much.
Was that your question, Point?
No, it wasn't actually,
Yep.
but I've had the experience of getting stuck a few times. So this person is just actually speaking my mind on that. All right, thank you. We have just 4 minutes left. Okay, one more written question. This person wants to know how the organization can get started with Power Apps implementation, as they don't have a lot of experience. And also, not just using this for the organization alone, but they would like to go into market and support clients to also implement Microsoft Power Apps within their environments. So what would you advise on getting started?
The biggest thing I think will match what's in the chat, which is get involved in the community. Because what's great about the community is that it's full, like I was talking about, help other people. The community is full of helpers. I mean, organizations like TechStylers, if you go to the digital community, the forums, there's so many questions answered all the time. If you go to Twitter, so many questions, so much help out there. It's really an incredibly selfless and altruistic community. And I think that's one of the things that I'm personally the most proud, not that I do a whole lot for it, but most proud that it exists around Power Platform, is such a welcoming and helpful community. So I'd say go check out the community. And there's so much material online. That's our big focus. We want to make sure that as long as you have a screen and access to the internet, you could learn Power Platform. You don't got to go to a school. You don't got to get a degree. You don't need to go pay someone a bunch of money to go to a boot camp. If you can get online, we got YouTube videos. We got Microsoft Learn. We got tons of great material, an amazing online community to really get started. So I'd say check out the community and then get involved with some of the online content. And really, like, the only thing that holds you back is whether or not you really are excited and passionate about the Power Platform. We're trying to get rid of all the gatekeepers that we can to make sure people really are empowered to do and achieve their full potential with Power Platform.
Yes, thank you so much. I mean, speaking to the community has been a great source of help for me, like getting started, and the kind of speed that I've been able to attain is because of the community, the power addicts. We have a lot of selfless people who are ready to help you, like take out their time, jump on a call with you, and solve the problem with you. I mean, the community is really great and it's so loving, and that's what makes the Power Platform very unique, because we have a lot of people. I mean, the power addicts say we rise by lifting others, and that's exactly what they do. They lift you up and help you. So yes, so get connected with the community. Just go on Twitter and hashtag Power Addicts. They'll be all over. You'll find much love.
Okay, so there's a question that around the wrapper, how do you connect directly to? Is there a wrapper that you can connect directly from the Power Apps to any API to consume it? That's an external API, really. So, so the question is more of when someone creates something in Power Apps, maybe you create an app in Power App, probably maybe you're creating an external web app. How do you consume it? How do you create those connectors? Yes.
Yeah, I think there's the custom connector capability inside of Power Apps, so you can go register any endpoint for which you can provide an open API or Swagger specification. You can register it, and it will show up just like any of the connectors that we at Microsoft build. And you can do that hosted in Azure on an Azure function. You can do that hosted anywhere on a local machine, wherever it is, as long as it goes and adheres to, like, I'd say, a modern REST or OData-like endpoint. And you can go create that open API specification to describe the contract of that endpoint. And I'd say we have some pretty amazing data that some of the biggest and most used applications that people build take advantage of this capability, because you'll always run into that one service or that one system internally, which you can't connect to with our out-of-the-box connectors. And we're going to keep shipping connectors, so that happens less and less, but there's always one that we don't support, and this is a great way to go do it. And the thing I'd want to call out, which is a big announcement we made last month, is if you use Azure API Management on front of your API, you can use Azure API Management custom connectors inside of your Office license, inside of Teams at no additional charge. So that was a big announcement we did as well. So just last month. So again, going back to the other idea of making more and more capabilities be inside of Office. So that's kind of, I say, yes, absolutely supported. Yes, there's a lot of great capabilities for it. And yes, if you use Azure, there's a lot of, I'd say, benefits in terms of the cost as well. So.
Okay, all right.
Is that we can keep track of all of these new feature announcements?
You have to watch all of our events. No, that's how we keep you watching. We're like the TV channel. No, so I think one thing I would say check out is Power Apps does do a monthly roll up. So once a month at the end, we'll do a blog post on the Power Apps blog of all the big updates of that month.
Okay.
And sometimes it's just one line, and it's actually a pretty big thing, but that's a good way to just kind of keep track of the pulse. Because I mean, we will deliver hundreds of improvements every month. Always. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's the benefit of the cloud, right? You always get improvements all the time, but it can be pretty daunting. So.
Yes, it can. We have someone here saying, is it possible to run Power Apps on mobile without the Power Apps application on Play Store? This is a question that a lot of users ask.
Yep.
Like, is this something that Microsoft is looking at doing anytime soon, where these apps can actually stand alone outside of the Power Apps app?
Yes, and it is in the plan for the next 6 to 9 months, where you'll be able to take a Power App, like say you have a Power App called like Charles's Cupcake Bakery Power App, and you could actually publish that to the iOS App Store and the Google Play Store. And then when people use the app, it will launch directly into your Power App. They won't even necessarily they won't see the Power App list. They won't even know it's a Power App. And it'll be just a single app running just a single Power App. So that's something we're working on right now. We actually are. I've already seen the design and some of the proposals come through. So that's underway to come. I'd say I'll be conservative and say summer next year. But it's absolutely something we're working on. You'd have to publish it with your own app publishing capabilities to the app stores, but you'd be able to export and run, and it would work. So.
Wow, this is fantastic news.
Okay.
Is Microsoft looking at cross tenants? So the way once anyone is on Microsoft 365, you can come into the tenant as guest and have Teams meeting and share documents. Is Microsoft looking at doing something like that with Power Apps, where you have an app and maybe your partner or your vendor or your customer needs to put in an input, and they will be able to? Is this something Microsoft's looking at doing?
Yep. Yeah. So we have so there's like Azure Active Directory guest support. So like if two companies work together and you're joined to their tenant as a guest, you can use Power Apps, and that should work without issue. And we also have Power Apps portals, which is a good way to publish to your customers or your partners online. And I think we're always expanding and improving it so that you can more easily reach your partners or your customers or people that may not be in your tenant. So I'd say we have some of that today, and we'll keep making that better and better over time, particularly as there's a lot of new exciting features coming in Azure Active Directory to go streamline that guest relationship. So absolutely, yeah.
Okay, great. I think there's a question that just popped up in the chat window. Is there a plan in the future to have Power Apps offline and sync or publish? Offline app.
Yep. Yeah. So for playing an app, we're going to have the building of an app will probably always be online. So because it's just the way it's built for us, like the Power Apps authoring environment, and that will always be an online experience. But if you say have a Power App, like a mobile Power App, we actually have a ton of really big offline improvements that have just landed or are about to ship. So like now or in the next month, where you have complete offline support. So it requires the usage of Common Data Service, but you'll be able to have an entire application with potentially dozens of entities that all work completely offline, even if you sync with the internet only like once a day. And that's something that we've been building for a lot of our field worker customers, where they have people who go out and do repairs or an elevator shaft, or they're out in the field, whether it's like mining or something else like that. So that's kind of why we built it out.
Yeah, great. Okay, I think that clarifies the question.
Okay. So if I have, sorry, I just want to ask a quick question, Charles. If there's going to be an advice we're going to give to those developers, pro developers sitting on the fence and not wanting to join the Power Apps community, what would you be telling them, please?
Yes, we should let everybody join the Power Platform community. Because I would say like Power Platform is special because it does have those three types of users: citizen developers, IT admins, and pro developers. And I would say Power Platform we're throwing a party for the citizen developers, but everybody's invited and everybody is welcome underneath that tent. So I think developers definitely should be welcome, but that doesn't mean that Power Platform is only for developers. But I think everybody is welcome to it.
Yeah. I guess the pro developers feel less like than a developer went, but that's always the issue when they come into Power Platform. They tell me is more, don't make them feel like a developer really. So
yeah.
So I want to encourage them to come in the more.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, Charles. Thank you so much. We won't like to take too much of your time. So, your closing remarks. What would you like to say to us? Your encouraging words. Yeah.
So just two quick things, because I know we're already over time. The first thing I would say is thank you so much for everything everybody does that's on this call and part of the community. Power Platform wouldn't be what it is without the community support and community's help. Because it not only helps us build better products by giving us great, honest feedback, but it also helps go teach and grow and help others get access and become part of the Power Platform. So I just want to say thank you so much for this community and everything that it does for so many people around the globe. The second thing I'd say is we have some really exciting things coming and planned for 2021. So I'd say stay engaged, keep letting us know where you want us to improve, whether it's licensing or features or offline or mobile, whatever it is. We have a whole bunch of exciting stuff planned, and that all starts with what we hear from folks like you who live and use the product all the time. So I'd say thank you so much for what you do, and please let us know what we can do better. We're always trying to improve the Power Platform, reach more people, reach more users, drive more change. So thank you so much again for the time, and I appreciate it, Foyen, for having me on the call. It's been great, and I'm really glad I was able to connect with TechStylers.
Thank you so much, Charles. Jumoke, over to you.
It's a great honor having you, Charles. I mean, we're so glad to have you. We're glad to have you, Laura. We're glad to have every one of us that has joined, taking out, putting aside the busy schedule and joining us here. You've been an inspiration to each and every one of us, I'm sure. To me, at this very younger age, what you've accomplished, and then, it's mind-blowing. And at the same time, encouraging for us to dare and then just be and believe in yourself and get the best, So I'm so glad. Thank you so much, and thank you to everyone. I think for you, that being said, thanks, Sherry. You've been awesome, amazing. That's Sherry over there, like we said.
Sherry.
I love these ladies. I love them.
Lady that never gave up. So thank you, everyone. All right then. So for you,
thank you so much, Charles. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, Laura.